Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. As we wrap up another week, Senate Democrats again blocked a GOP effort to pay the troops as the government shutdown drags into a third week. We have the details on that. Did U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown say that black people are disabled this week? In her remarks on a case about minority voters, she cited the Americans with Disabilities Act to illustrate how the government might remedy a voting rights question. This one is quite amazing. You're going to want to stick around for this. Nancy Pelosi showed her true colors this week in a response to a question about January the 6th that has now gone viral. It's quite amazing, too. Country music fans in Greenville were disappointed when newly separated Keith Urban canceled the concert last night. Did it have anything to do with his sudden separation from Nicole Kidman? Stick around. I have the official statement in today's show. And next Tuesday, October 21st, voters in South Carolina Senate District 12 will select the GOP nominee for the special election to fill the seat vacated by Senator Roger Nutt due to health reasons. Justin Bradley is one of the three candidates on the ballot. He'll be joining us today as well.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
We're now headed into day 16, or is it 17? I get confused. I can't keep up with it. Anyway, the federal government is still shut down. And if you've been following the back and forth up in Washington, it's starting to sound like a broken record. This week, Senate Republicans tried to do something pretty straightforward, something that in normal times you'd think would get unanimous support. It's real simple. Pay our troops. Pay the men and women in uniform, protecting our country, protecting our freedoms. But Senate Democrats, again, blocked that bill, leaving the men and women of our armed forces caught in the political crossfire. Now, the measure Republicans brought forward was the annual defense appropriations bill. It's one of, 12 appropriations bills, a routine piece of legislation that keeps the military funded and our national security operations running. Has nothing to do with Obamacare. Senate Majority Leader John Thune from South Dakota led the charge, saying, look, this shouldn't be controversial. Let's pay our service members and then deal with the rest. Pretty reasonable, right? Democrats, though, led by Chuck Schumer, dug in their heels and blocked the bill for the 10th time since the shutdown began. 10 times they have voted no. Now, a handful of Democrats broke rank, and I want to continue to give them credit. John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada, and Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire all voted with Republicans to move the bill forward. They have been steadfast in their support, in their common sense. Fetterman said it best, I think the people in our military deserve to get paid. That's what my vote is about. Good for him. But the rest of the Democrat caucus, a no. Big no. They claimed they didn't want to advance a, quote, piecemeal bill, not unless Republicans promise what other spending bills might get attached later on. Basically, they're saying they don't want to pay our troops unless they get a guarantee for their own political priorities down the line. That's what it amounts to. That's the simple explanation. Now, to put this in perspective, President Trump, who's been doing what he can from the White House to minimize the pain of the shutdown, stepped in with a temporary executive order to make sure service members are still getting paychecks for now. But as the president himself said, that funding won't last forever. So if this stalemate keeps dragging on, our troops could be working without pay, again, all because Democrats don't want to give Trump and congressional Republicans a win. It's just that simple. It's worth noting that this defense bill isn't about new programs or partisan riders. It's about funding what's already been authorized. Military pay, equipment maintenance, base operations, the stuff that keeps our national defense running. But Chuck Schumer and his crew argued that they couldn't support it because Republicans wouldn't commit to which other funding measures might get added later, like transportation, health, human services, housing and urban development, and so on. Schumer told reporters they need unanimous consent to add anything to the defense bill. They don't have it. That's Washington speak for we're not playing ball unless they get everything we want, unless they give us what we want, which is the extension of Obamacare. The real story here, Republicans are trying to move the process forward. They're trying different things. Even if one bill at a time, they're trying to do that. While Democrats are using the shutdown as political leverage. You can almost hear the strategy sessions at the DNC. Make Trump look chaotic. Don't give him a win. Stretch the pain out until voters blame Republicans. It's cynical, but it's classic Washington politics. And unfortunately, it's kind of working. Some of the polls show that Americans aren't just blaming the Democrats, they're blaming Republicans too. Senator Lindsey Graham from my home state of South Carolina summed it up. These are dangerous times. This is not the time to weaken our defenses. Exactly, Senator. While our troops are stationed in hotspots around the world, look at Eastern Europe, Middle East, the Senate can't even agree to keep them paid because Chuck Schumer wants a political guarantee. Now, come on, folks. Now, some Democrats tried to spin it differently. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, a Democrat who voted against the bill, said it wasn't about opposing the troops, but about the process. Here's what he told reporters. This is not the way we normally do this, he said. We would normally have an agreement on a process to vote on appropriations bill, not one bill. In other words, we can't just do our jobs unless we have a big, complicated, prearranged deal. That's exactly the kind of bureaucratic nonsense that drives me nuts, drives you nuts, drives all Americans crazy. Meanwhile, back home, military families are watching the news wondering if their next paycheck will clear. These are families living, some of them, paycheck to paycheck. Spouses raising kids while their loved ones are deployed overseas. They don't care about Senate process. They don't care about who's a Republican, who's a Democrat. They care about paying rent. They care about being able to grocery shop and keeping the lights on, paying their car bill, their insurance. And it's absolutely shameful that Washington politicians can't even come together to guarantee that. Republicans like Senator Thune say the optics couldn't be worse for Democrats. If they want to stop the defense bill, he said, I don't think it's very good optics for them, obviously. No kidding. No kidding. Because when this shutdown drags into week 3 and those military paychecks stop coming, the American people are going to remember who voted against paying our troops. It's just that simple. It's shameful that even the Democrats can stoop this low. The irony, of course, is that Democrats love to wrap themselves in the flag during election season. They talk about supporting the troops, honoring service, standing up for democracy. But when it comes time to put their money where their mouth is, literally, they fold like cheap lard. It's not about the troops. It's about politics. And this week, Chuck Schumer made that painfully clear. The bottom line is this. While the Senate plays politics, President Trump is doing what he can to keep things running. He used emergency measures to ensure military pay continues. Again, that's a temporary fix. Don't know how long that's going to last. His hands are tied without Congress passing a full funding package. Republicans are trying to move piece by piece, keep the lights on, pay the troops, reopen departments, while Democrats refuse to budge unless they get a massive all-or-nothing deal that includes a lot of their pet projects. Again, the American people, you and me, we're the ones paying the price. We're the ones having to suffer, and especially those essential workers like our military who are having to work whether they're paid or not. So what do you think? Should Congress pass the defense bill immediately to guarantee our troops get paid? Or should Democrats keep holding the line until they get what they want, till they get their way? Send me a quick text. Email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com, and you'll get the very best price that Mike Lindell has to offer. I mean, really, what person in their right mind would not want to pay our military, would not say, okay, let's pause, understand we have our principles here, but we'll go ahead and we'll pass this one particular measure so that the military can be paid and they can protect our country, particularly in these times. Who doesn't do that? Help me out here. Help me understand it. Let's be honest. Those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court is back in the headlines. And this time, it's not because of a big decision, but because of something that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said from the bench that's got a whole lot of people talking. During oral arguments this week, it was in the Louisiana voting rights case, Louisiana versus Callis, Justice Jackson invoked the Americans with Disabilities Act. The Americans with Disabilities Act to make a point about race-based redistricting. People were scratching their head. Americans with Disability Act to make a point about race-based redistricting? Are you kidding me? And let me tell you, it didn't go over too well. Now, before we get into what she actually said, here's the backdrop. This case is about how far states have to go to consider race when they draw congressional maps under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Louisiana Republicans argue that their map, which includes only one majority black district out of 6, very similar to my home state of South Carolina, we have 1 out of 7. They argue that this was drawn fairly and without discriminatory intent. Civil rights groups claim it still needs results in black voters being underrepresented, even if no one intended to discriminate. Now, that's the big legal debate here, intent versus outcome. So during questioning, Justice Jackson, one of the court's most liberal members, jumped in and said basically, hey, discrimination doesn't always depend on intent. Sometimes systems themselves are unfair by design, and that's when she used the ADA as an example. She said, Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. She compared that situation with how the voters' right intended. Let me just let you listen to her yourself.
Going back to this discriminatory intent point, I guess I'm thinking of it, of the fact that remedial action absent discriminatory intent is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws. And my kind of paradigmatic example of this is something like the ADA. Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect because these folks were not able to access these buildings. And it didn't matter whether the person who built the building or the person who owned the building intended for them to be exclusionary. That's irrelevant. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here.
And with that, as you can imagine, the internet exploded. Critics jumped on the comment, accusing Justice Jackson of comparing black voters to disabled people, which she kind of did, didn't she? Now, I guess to be fair, she was trying to use an analogy comparing access to buildings under the ADA to access the ballot box under the Voting Rights Act. It's not exactly how it came across, though. In today's world, words matter. They remind us of that. And when a sitting Supreme Court justice uses the phrase, they're disabled, to describe minority voters, that's going to kind of raise eyebrows. That's kind of a big deal. So let's be honest here. The optics here are terrible. You have the first black woman ever appointed to the Supreme Court essentially suggesting that black voters need the government to build a ramp so they can participate equally in democracy. That's not just a poor analogy. That's patronizing. I mean, it reinforces this tired progressive narrative that minority Americans are somehow helpless without government intervention. That's insulting. That's not empowering. Now, the justice was following up on a line of questioning from Justice Elena Kagan, who was pressing Louisiana's lawyer on whether states must remedy discrimination even if they didn't mean to discriminate. But what Ms. Jackson was arguing, and this is the key, is that intent doesn't matter if the outcome produces inequality. That's the philosophical divide here. Conservatives believe the Constitution guarantees equal opportunity, that the law should be colorblind. Liberals, on the other hand, often argue for equal outcomes, meaning if the results aren't balanced, government has to step in and fix it. Government's always the answer, even if that means using race as a factor. That's what this Louisiana case is really all about. So when Jackson made her ADA analogy, the Louisiana Attorney General respectfully pushed back, as should have. He said, the difference, Your Honor, is that remedies under the ADA aren't race-based. And to her credit, Jackson immediately agreed, saying, I take your point. But then she added, so what you're saying then is that if the problem of no access is about race, it's just too bad because you can't have a remedy that relates to race. The attorney said, absolutely not, Your Honor. But at that point, the damage was done. Her use of the word disabled in context with race was already out there. It was already making waves online. People were already responding on X within hours. Critics on X were calling it a Freudian slip that revealed how the left views racial politics. And they're right. Some wrote, did she just call black voters disabled? Others said it showed how liberal elites see minorities not as equals, but as dependents, forever needing protection, forever needing oversight, special accommodations in every situation. And honestly, they make a fair point, don't they? Think about it. Justice Jackson's argument might have sounded academic in the courtroom, but the underlying message fits perfectly with what we've seen from the left for years. This idea that America is inherently unfair, that minorities are victims who can't succeed without government assistance. That's the same thinking behind affirmative action. It's the same thinking behind DEI programs. It's the same thinking behind race-based hiring and college admissions quotas. And it's exact mindset that many Americans, especially minorities themselves, are rejecting. They don't want any part of it going further. Now, here's what's interesting. Justice Jackson defended her comments by referencing a previous Supreme Court case, Allen versus Milligan from 2021, where the court also used the term disabled metaphorically to describe unequal access in voting systems. So she didn't just make it up out of nowhere, but context does matter. That case wasn't about analogies. It was about how maps in Alabama limited minority representation. And in that opinion, disabled was used to describe the process, not the people that they were talking about. Jackson blurred the line, and that is what's drawing the heat. Nancy Pelosi got a little testy this week when asked questions about refusing President Trump's offer of sending National Guard units on January the 6th. We saw the true Nancy, that in just a minute. But first, I haven't done a good job with text messages this week. I read them, when you send them. I always read them. I listen to your messages. I read your emails. But I just run out of time sometimes during the show. It just goes by so quickly that I don't always get to share them. So let's share a few today. Katrina writes, "Hey, Joey, we belong to Prince of Peace in Taylor's. The church is 100% pro-life, pro-family. That message is preached weekly. In years past, the Catholic Church lost membership due to our strong beliefs, but no longer. We have a lot of people joining who want to have a deeper religious experience. Jesus charged Simon Peter with building his church. He built the Roman Catholic Church. Yes, some earthly leaders have caused hardship over the years, but the foundation remains." So there is some good news and hope for the future. Many have been called. Thank you. I appreciate you. And you're right. I've heard a lot of good things about Prince of Peace and Taylor's. I've had friends over the years who have worshiped there. Paul writes, "I'm guessing that Hamas won't be held accountable for anything. Peace, in quotation marks, is much more important than a few lives." Faye writes, "Joey, the race for Virginia governor is quite concerning. I believe everyone who has an extra $5 bill should help Winston Sears win. I'm going to send my 5. Her opponent is rotten to the core." Ray says, "Joey, I cannot think of anything that makes me as proud to be an American as what President Trump has done in the Middle East. I don't care what the left has to say about our president. He is without a doubt the GOAT of presidents." You're right there, Ray. He says, "We should all thank God for Donald Trump. It is ludicrous to think about the shutdown as a leftist win. It will be their downfall in 2026. God bless the president, and God bless the United States of America." Your comments are welcome as well. Send me a quick text. Email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line like Donnie did.
"Hey, Joey, my name is Donnie, and I'm a truck driver in South Carolina, and I was just listening to your comments about the groups that are causing havoc and destruction and evil and all kind of chaos in our country right now, and it's sad to see where our country has came to when we used to be a country of pride and supported each other as Americans, and to see these people that have been raised up and born in this country up under the American flag, and they're the ones who are supporting all of these terrorist groups and these mafia and drug lords and bringing all these drugs into our country and violence. That is a slap in the face to our forefathers who brought this country to where it is right now. It is so sad, man, and I hear everything you're saying. It makes me feel bad for this country, but it also pisses me off. And I just pray to God for our troops and our men in uniform that they have the courage to keep going forward and supporting us as Americans. We've got to support them too. So thank you for doing a good job, Joey, and keep on going, brother. I support you and everybody who's making this country better. God bless America.
Thank you, Donnie, and your message is welcome too on the MyPillow message line. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com. You can also call 800-893-4059. And Mike Lindell tells us he still has some of his great deal on the MyPillow 6-pack bath towel sets. They're in stock, but you got to get them quick. His proprietary technology makes these the most extremely absorbent towels you'll ever own. Plus, they're comfortable. They still provide that soft feel that you look for in a towel. That's what I love about them. They're my favorite towel that I've ever purchased. The set comes with 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths. Regularly, they price $69.98. For a limited time, you can get this 6-pack towel set for only $39.98, but you got to throw my name around. You got to tell them Joey Hudson sent you. Use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com, or again, call 800-893-4059. Have your credit card out. 6 packs of towel sets, $39.98 with promo code Joey. It's not going to last long. Go ahead and start buying for Christmas. They're great Christmas gifts, and I promise you, everybody will love you who you give a 6-pack of MyPillow towels to. You know, every once in a while, Washington gives us one of those moments that perfectly sums up the attitude we see from career politicians who've been in power way too long. And this week, that moment came courtesy of our very favorite Nancy Pelosi. Yep, the former Speaker of the House, the same Nancy Pelosi who spent years lecturing America about protecting democracy and respecting the press. She told a reporter to just shut up on Capitol Hill this week. Here's what happened. Pelosi was walking outside of the Capitol when Allison Steinberg, and you've seen Allison, she's kind of popped up recently. She's a reporter with Mike Lindell's Lindell TV. And she asked her a perfectly reasonable question, one that Americans have been asking for about 4 years now. Why did you not allow President Trump at the time to send the National Guard to help with security on January the 6th? Here's the exchange.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
Now, when you saw the video, this young Miss Steinberg just kind of turned and smiled at her camera. Pelosi just ignored the question. She just kept walking, and her staff started ushering her along. So, as you heard, Steinberg asked again, are you concerned about this? No answer. Then Steinberg pressed one last time. That's when she spun around, pointed her finger at her, yelling, shut up. Now, is that how a former Speaker of the House, is that how a current sitting member of Congress should be acting towards the press? I mean, just imagine if that were Speaker Mike Johnson. Imagine if a conservative lawmaker, let's say Marjorie Taylor Greene or Jim Jordan, told a CNN or an MSNBC reporter to shut up. We'd see wall-to-wall coverage on every major network. There'd be think pieces about the danger to democracy, attacks on journalism. But because it was Nancy Pelosi, and because she was yelling at a conservative reporter, Mike Lindell's conservative reporter at that, the mainstream media barely blinked, if at all. Now, here's the kicker. Pelosi didn't just tell her to shut up. She also accused the reporter of parroting Republican talking points. As you heard her say, why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist? Well, she is a serious journalist. Folks, this is the kind of elitist arrogance that just drives me insane, and I know it does you too. When the media goes easy on them, they smile and talk about the importance of a free press. But the moment someone asks a real question, especially from a conservative outlet, suddenly it's fake news and Republican propaganda. Sound familiar? So let's get to the substance of the question. Because whether Nancy Pelosi likes it or not, there's still unanswered questions about who made what decisions leading up to January the 6th. House Republicans issued a report back in 2022 that accused Ms. Pelosi herself and other top Democrats of failing to secure the Capitol despite multiple warnings about possible unrest. That report claimed Pelosi's office declined several offers of National Guard assistance and that the Capitol Police were left undermanned and underprepared. Pelosi has always denied it, of course. She insists that President Trump was the one who didn't send the Guard. But here's the truth. The president can authorize National Guard, but it's up to the Capitol Police Board, which reports to the Speaker of the House, to make the formal request. Now, think about this, too, in today's time, when there are states, there are Democrat cities all around the country that the president is almost having to force the National Guard on because these Democrats don't want him sending the National Guard. But yet Pelosi's claiming now that it was his fault, that the National Guard was not there to help back them up. January the 6th, that request did not go in, did not come in time. That's not speculation. It's documented in the timeline of events that day. So when Pelosi says, I did not refuse a National Guard, that may be technically true, but it's also misleading. Her office had the authority to greenlight additional security before that day. They simply did not act. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Next Tuesday, if you haven't already voted in early voting, voters in South Carolina Senate District 12 will be going to the polls to elect someone to fill the vacancy created when Senator Roger Nutt had to step down due to some health issues. There are three candidates: Justin Bradley, Hope Blackwell, Lee Bright, and on our guest line today is Justin Bradley. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Hey, Joey. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate your time. Let's just start, if you will, with your elevator speech. Who is Justin Bradley, and why would you make a good state senator?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm lifelong Spartanburg resident. Spartanburg is my home. I live in Greer with my family, my wife, and three kids. And the reason that I'm running for state senate is because I just really believe that we need a new generation of leaders, conservative leaders, that are willing to step up and actually fight for real solutions, not just another career politician that's going to talk about these issues, the issues that have been plaguing our state really my whole life, roads and infrastructure and education and, corrupt politicians and all of these issues that we spend all of our time talking about, but actually work on getting real solutions passed on those issues based on conservative principles.
Yeah. Without going into any detail, because we'll kind of drill down on some of the issues, what would you say are the five most pressing issues facing South Carolina right now?
Yeah, there's four that as I've gone door to door and talked to people in the district, there's really four that keep bubbling up to the top for me. Roads and infrastructure has to be number one, and then education, and that's an issue that's pretty personal to me as well. Law and order and judicial reform, I think, go hand in hand together as an issue that people are very concerned about right now. And then I think taxes and spending are right at the top of the list as well.
Yeah. Well, let's jump in then, and let's start with judicial reform. It has become an issue recently as we hear about judges allowing violent criminals to be released only to commit more crime, and in some cases even murdering innocent victims. What specific changes would you propose to see that judges are held accountable and that the right judges are chosen?
Yeah, the first change that we have to do in our judicial system in South Carolina is we've got to get away from the legislature having really the majority voice in picking our judges. South Carolina is one of only two states that does that. Joey, as you know, my background is I'm an attorney. But when I graduated from law school, I didn't go into the courtroom. I decided to go and help businesses and help them navigate laws and regulations that they deal with, so they can just do the business that they love. So my entire career, I've had to help companies deal with, really getting these frivolous lawsuits and getting issues that are coming at them left and right, so they can just do the business that they love. And one of the problems that we run into is these lawyer legislators that are involved in helping to pick the judges. The truth is, it's just a conflict of interest. They can then go and practice in front of those judges. they can make sure that, their clients have a little bit of an advantage. I think I'm the only candidate in this race that's actually had a case where a lawyer legislator was on the other side, and I had to advise my client that frankly, we've got a little bit of a disadvantage here because the judge has a different relationship with that lawyer legislator than we do. And, that's just not a fair system. And whether, we have a lot of great judges in the state, we also have some that are, these liberal judges that are going to, allow prosecutors to get away with these catch and release type of policies and just continue to put these violent criminals back on the streets. We got to get away from that system.
Yeah. Justin Bradley is my guest today. He is one of 3 candidates running in the special election for South Carolina Senate District 12. If you haven't voted in early voting, please plan to vote next Tuesday for this. Now, you mentioned roads and infrastructure. For years now, Justin, we've heard, give us another penny sales tax or 2 or 3 or 4, and we'll take care of the roads. It just hasn't happened. What's the solution?
No, we put a lot more money into the system, and I think there was another study that was released last week that just showed that our roads continue to get worse. They're below the national average. They continue to get worse, and that's what we all see every day as we're driving around, bumping into potholes. I just had to get new tires on my car yesterday because of a pothole that I hit that knocked my tires out of alignment and cost me a lot of money. And that's happening to folks all over the state and all over District 12. The truth is we don't need more money. We got to fix the system. And, that involves modernizing our DOT infrastructure, actually looking at DOT. Let's use some tools in our toolkit, whether that's AI tools or, scrutinizing the spending to look for waste, fraud, and abuse. But we've also got to get rid of some of the red tape. I served on county council, and there are a lot of shovel-ready projects that our local governments have ready to go, but they need the money to be able to do that. Right now, the money goes through a web of bureaucracy through DOT and the county transportation committees, which are actually controlled by the legislature, to our county councils and our municipalities. We've got to get rid of some of that red tape and bureaucracy and actually put more money directly into the roads and not just continue to funnel all of it through this web of different agencies.
Yeah. Justin, many Republicans have been calling for lowering or even eliminating the state income tax. You mentioned tax as one of your top issues there. Would you support reducing or maybe even removing income tax? And if so, how would you offset the lost revenue while maintaining the essential services?
Yeah, I'm in favor of eliminating the state income tax. That's not something we can do overnight, but we've got to have a proposal that actually takes us to zero. And, there's a couple ways to do that. The truth is, when we continue to have these $1 billion plus surpluses every single year, we have the money there to be able to continue to put that into reducing the income tax year over year. Do what our neighboring states have done. We have states that are our neighbors that are going to be lower in terms of their rate, over the next couple of years and continue to get on a path to zero. We're one of the few states that don't have a law passed that actually is going to get us there in the Southeast. The other thing we have to do is we've got to cap our spending. Right now, our spending for our budget has just gotten out of control. It's growing faster than population and inflation, and we've got to get it under control. And, at the end of the day, let's put more money back into the taxpayers' pockets. Yeah.
Justin, we have time for about one more question here. Time just goes by real quickly, doesn't it? In 2023, the General Assembly passed the heartbeat bill restricting most abortions after about 6 weeks. Do you believe this legislation went far enough? Would you support additional pro-life measures?
No, I don't think it went far enough because I believe life begins at conception. And so I want to extend those protections to every unborn child beginning at conception. And I've certainly taken a little bit of heat because, at the end of the day, there needs to be the push to get that done. But we also have to do it in a way that takes into account and looks at how can we not only protect the unborn, but also, look at the mothers and treat them humanely, because we just have had 50 years of the abortion industry that has just continued to take a culture of life and twist it upside down to a culture of death. And we've got to restore that culture in our country. And that starts with getting those protections extended.
Yep. Justin, appreciate your time today. Give us your website if people would like additional information.
Thanks, Joey. Yeah, they can find me at justinforsc.com.
justinforsc.com, and be sure and vote next Tuesday, October 21st. Appreciate your time, and hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.